I would have given my right arm for someone to come and tell me you're going to be okay. I've been through this. I know you will be okay. You won't get over it. You'll learn to live with it, but you will be okay.
Welcome to The Narratives of Suicide, the podcast where we bring hope, community, and a voice to those who've lost to suicide. It's where we dispel the myths of suicide. We dispel historical discourses and constructs that have been steeped in history for a very long time. And we're here with hope, love, and support for everyone out there who needs to listen to this podcast. I'm so sorry you're here, but I do hope it can give you something to use in your healing process, to be able to pick up the pieces of suicide and put them back together again in the best possible way that you can. So we're here today with Chrissie, all the way from Perth in Australia. Well, actually, Chrissie, you're from the UK initially, so you won't hear an Australian accent. So hi, Chrissie.
Hi, Sue.
Definitely no Australian accent. Chrissie sadly lost her husband nearly 14 years ago, so in 2007. So Chris is here to share her story today, to illuminate us on her journey and how she's still standing after all this time and still looking as wonderful as possible in the circumstances. And we only met last week, so it's great for you to be here. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
So where should we start? Tell us a bit about your husband.
Okay. I think to me, he was just such a lovely person. From Manchester as well. So we both came to Australia, met in Australia, but from the UK, which was weird. But we wouldn't have never met there because we kind of didn't travel around that much. But yeah, I'd say we got married in 2003. And I think with work and everything, and work can bring on a lot of triggers as well. And only found out when people pass to suicide, you always look for answers and you always look for why, those whys, and where were the triggers? How did that happen? Why did it just came up, a couple of weeks ago, and I realized that he was in sort of middle management in his work and he was bullied by the general management. And he was a people person and he was very good at his job. He was a printer and he had his own print business in the UK as well, in Manchester, with his uncle that kind of went under in the 80s with the crash, with the recession that happened there. There was a lot that went on with that. That sort of added to his iceberg, because it kind of starts to build and it's not just one thing that triggers it. There's a few things that come to a head. And yeah, after we got married, I felt quite shortchanged, if I'm really honest, because the following year was when he had this breakdown. And I've never seen anyone have a breakdown. I've heard it, never seen it, just a mental breakdown. Who knew? I didn't realize, but I do know now. And I know this, I know what it looks like. And if I saw someone, I'd know exactly what was going on. It's a bit like the horse is bolted, but I know what's going on now. It's like locking the door, but it's already gone kind of thing. So from there on, I didn't want him to go back to work. I didn't want him to in that industry. The thing that then really upset me when I look back was how he was treated with having that breakdown. And his self-esteem and self-worth started going down the gurks because then everything was about medication, all the different medications. And I don't know, 3 of the medications that he was on, I saw afterwards and looked into, and it said not to be taken if there were suicidal tendencies. So there were 3 of his, and I thought, really? I couldn't believe it. I just wanted someone to be accountable for that. Yeah. Which is very frustrating. And yeah, I just felt that we had to do something that because from a British background, he was a worker, he was the breadwinner, he didn't want to let us down. It was sad to see him the way he was. And then of course I started researching and looking for something that we could do together, because I actually worked at Perth Airport at the time on nights. And I loved it, but I had to give up because it was too much for me to leave him. Oh, God. But for him to actually plead his case to work, I don't understand how, when someone's had a mental breakdown or suffering with mental illness, how they can go in front of a tribunal and fight their case when they're on all sorts of medication and they're trying to plead their case the medication wasn't right for him as well. So he was not in a good place. So he looked really bad as well. And all the side effects that went with it. So I thought that was cruel. That was really cruel to do that to him.
So the tribunal was about that was around the breakdown, I guess, because he wasn't working.
That's right.
Right.
He had to go on the sick then. And then they had to let him go because they couldn't keep him on the books, but they were the ones that caused it. But they obviously wouldn't admit to that, obviously. But now I read between the lines and look back, and in a more clear head space for myself, I can see it as plain as day that that's what happened. And it's obviously this time on, and there's not a lot I can do about it now. But it's frustrating that I can't. Not that I've tried, but it's 14 years and, who's going to listen kind of thing. So... yeah, was it this? Was it that? Was it the drug? Was it the antidepressants? Was it the tribunal? Was it his self-esteem because he couldn't work, because he was, took the hit? But also the impact on you had not been able to work, to look after, I'm saying in inverted commas, because, when you're looking after somebody with mental health, it's very different than looking after illness, because, the self-esteem gets hit even more then. And then, the relationship's affected and, Everything gets affected. And then you start to see this person just crumbling in front of your eyes, and you're trying to support them in any way, shape or form you can. But the relationship can really be struggling as well, because the meds that he was on, he was just always like a zombie. There was no ups, there was no downs. He wasn't happy, he wasn't sad. He's gone from this really happy person to someone who I didn't even recognise, if I'm honest.
Gosh. Hence the short change, hence that you married somebody who you thought, it was only a year into the marriage that he had the breakdown, and then you started to, have to pick up the pieces together, I guess. But he was a zombie, so it wasn't really picking it up together. And you had a daughter at that stage? Yeah.
He came into my life when she was 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, very close. Very close they were.
No.
Yeah.
So caring for a daughter as well at the same time. A lot.
Yeah.
Also, ever such a lot. Yeah. Wow.
There was a lot going on there. Yeah. So when that happened, then he was getting all, because we had the mortgage, we had everything to keep together. So we ended up opening a kids' hairdressing salon, because that's my background. And we found that there was not a lot here in Perth, not a lot worldwide really, but the kids only salons. So I did a bit of research and we looked into it, and I thought I need to step up to the plate, because I don't want him going back to where he was before. It worked really well because his strengths were my weaknesses and his weaknesses were my strengths.
Right.
So we really worked together well.
Right.
So he was in the back office. But by the same token, it was exciting to open a salon. I thought that would kind of give him something to do as well, just to keep him like he's got a purpose.
Yeah, focus, purpose, yeah.
And a couple of things, there's loads of stuff that was playing on his mind from before I met him. And it just goes to show that you need to really work on yourself. Your self-development is so crucial in anyone, even without having mental illness, because that's what it leads to. That it leads to mental illness, because you're not dealing with stuff that happened in the past. It follows you into the future.
Catch it early, even as teenagers. I'm passionate about that. Catch teenagers, develop their emotional well-being in schools and things, how we could prevent.
EQ is huge. Well over IQ. Just having that emotional intelligence, it was fantastic. But he obviously didn't deal with a lot of the stuff with his business going under, a few other bits and pieces that went on, because they didn't get his medication right. They never got his medication right. He was sort of in control of his own medication, and it was like over 1,000 milligrams of medication. He was in charge of his self-medicating.
Have you not seen somebody regularly, like a psychiatrist, to monitor? Okay.
Yeah. Well, he was seeing a doctor, a psychiatrist. But I think he was at a stage where he was not playing the game, but like telling them what they wanted to hear. I actually needed to be the third wheel, but I would stress him out if I shut the salon, to come with him. So I didn't want to add that into the equation as well. But he tried it twice before within that year, within that sort of 2007. So there was the third time he did it. He'd been admitted to the psych ward, like code 1, which they call it over here, which is if you don't go in we'll arrest you. But he was not in his right headspace. The medication was absolutely just messing with his head. You could see he gained about 10 kilos. He was sweating all the time. He just looked like, and all that was hitting his self-worth and self-esteem.
Yeah, the zombified, yeah. A lot of drugs by the sounds of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. So those suicide attempts, yeah. So you went through all that with him. You went through picking up the pieces, watching him go into hospital, come back out again, I guess, because that has connotations as well, doesn't it? When you're with somebody after a suicide attempt in hospital, to then have them come home is really scary, because you'll then have it on watch, aren't you? You're on guard. You're exhausted from just the emotions of that.
You can't sleep. If they move, you're like, where are you going? You know, and he'd be like, don't. What are you doing? I'm fine. And I'd be like, okay, that's fine. I'm just like, go to sleep, he'd say. And I'd be like, I am asleep. I just heard you get up and I thought you might want something. The thing was that when he was taken in, because I came home from work the first night and I didn't know what he'd done, but I knew he was asleep, like too asleep for 5 o'clock at night. He was like asleep, like, you know, you'd be going, like giving him a nudge. Wake up, wake up, wake up. But only what I can gather at that time was it was an attempt. But I got the ambulance, I had to phone the ambulance because I wasn't sure what happened. But it didn't even enter my head at that time. I didn't even realise that was happening.
Wow, yeah.
They said he brought his heart and his blood pressure right down with the tablets that he'd taken at that time. We took him into hospital. We sat there. And it's terrible. It's draining for us as the people that are watching on. You're just absolutely drained. But you're trying to keep everything together for everybody around you. Trying to be in business. I was parenting my daughter. I was keeping house. I was going to the hospital after work. Then I'd go to the hospital in the morning with breakfast for him and then make sure she's gone to school and go in the salon. And I don't even know which way was up. I didn't even know which way was up. I really didn't. When I think back at that, that was difficult. You know. Then there was another time in the June before, he did the same again. Not the same way, but the same. And I knew that incident happened again and caught him, and we kind of got back, okay, blah, blah, blah. He was taken into hospital.
Okay.
The thing is, they get him in and out so quickly, but it takes so long to get there. So how can you possibly be better in a week? Mm. You know, it's not something that just... And the thing is, if I'm honest, for me, I needed to have some respite because I was exhausted.
To know that he's in hospital and someone else is on guard.
Yes, watching. Yes.
You can look after your daughter. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
It was really full on and he was on suicide watch in the hospital. But I just thought, I just need some time to regroup. Someone else is, like you said, on guard, watching. I can actually sleep tonight or sleep for a couple of nights until he comes out again. And anyway, he came out and, you know, it was sad that happened and blah, blah, blah. And we tried to, but he never picked up. I was carrying this weight constantly. And this gorgeous man was just, to see what he was like, just the most wonderful person. I can't even fault him, but to not see him, I knew he was in there, but it was so hard to find him. And because of all this medication. For me, I was just exhausted with it all, you know. Anyway, so came fast to July, the following month.
No, it was your birthday. You had a lovely day together, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a beautiful, beautiful day. And I think in a way, he set me up. If I'm on, like I just feel like he was. I just feel like when I look at it, I think he set me up on that day because I was always on my guard. I was always like, what are you doing? Where are you going? You know, and this particular day, I was like, I thought I can relax. It's my birthday. He knows it's my birthday. We can have a nice day out. I planned this day. It was beautiful. And I couldn't have wished for a better day. Beautiful day. And then, that was when it happened. Gosh. Like I was blaming myself. I had a champagne head. I thought I'll go to sleep, go and have a sleep. It was only about 5 or 6 o'clock, something like that. Cause I know it was only early because here it goes dark early. So, but it was still light, right? So I knew it wasn't that late. I just said, look, I need to just go and lie down and I'll be back with you in a sec. Just give me 10 minutes. Went and had to lie down and that's when it all happened.
You woke up to it. Oh, gosh.
He came and kissed me on the cheek and told me that he loved me and that he was going.
Okay.
And I thought, where's he going? I thought he was going to drive the car. That's what I thought he was going to do. Mm-hmm. And then I got up and thought, oh, and then things started going pear-shaped, and then that was it. So when someone dies suddenly like that, for the people left behind, the suddenness of that death is insurmountable. It just, like a knee-jerk reaction that happens to the person that's next to or close to, just is the pain, the physical pain that person that's grieving, that is starting their grieving journey, and it's like a disbelief. It's all those emotions are just running wild, and I liken it to like the whole like right side of me just ripped open, and it was this massive wounded, like the whole side of me, and I'm trying to bring everything back in and trying to sew it back together and try and keep myself together. And that took ages. That took a long time. It was a minute by minute, hour by hour, but it took that time. And it's not like a normal death. And this is what really frustrates me when people go, oh, well, yeah, I lost when anyone dies, it's really bad. It's not a nice thing. When they've got cancer, I lost my mum to ovarian cancer. I knew that was going to happen. It was still sad, but I didn't have the pain. I didn't have the physical pain. The physical pain is just...
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? It's this real...
Oh, yeah.
It's undescribable. It's really hard to find words, isn't it, to say quite what it's like. And I lost my mum 2 years before my brother to a condition of disease, if you like. But yeah, we were prepared. But it's interesting because we were prepared. We watched her, and it was awful. Again, it was one of those awful experiences, but I learned so much from it, and I miss her. I still miss her. And of course we all, do our little things to honour her life and everything. But it's so different to my brother, from the very visceral pain, the complete and utter, almost disbelief, surreal, ripping half your side off kind of sense that comes with that extra layer of suicide. I do think it's just like an extra layer, if you want to simplify it, which you can't.
It's intense. It's the most intense experience that you never wish on anyone, ever, ever. And to kind of build yourself back up from that, you're down in that black hole. I would have given my right arm to someone to come and tell me you're going to be okay. I've been through this. I know you will be okay. You won't get over it. You'll learn to live with it, but you will be okay. And I was just a hot mess, absolute hot mess for so long. The lights were on, but no one was home.
Wow.
And it just took so long. And it still is. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. So when you say you were, like a mess, were you still working? Did you still cope with the everyday stuff, but then fall apart in private? Or did you literally just say, that's it, I'm done, and hide for 6 months? Oh,
I'd cry in the car. Like I was this grey looking colour, even with makeup on. I just looked like a zombie, I think, when I look back. And I can't remember that time either. I know I was at work because I had the salon.
Right. Because I think you have to just get on with it, don't you? I think there's a real sense.
Yes, yeah. And you just break down in private. In the car was a good time because I didn't want to break down in front of my daughter. Then that was another big thing that I found that was really difficult, and that's only just come to surface now, is she didn't want to talk about it to me. I didn't want to talk about it to her, only because we didn't want to upset each other. But that was the wrong thing to do, because she wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it to her, but we were scared of stepping on each other.
So she's 25 now?
24 in July.
Oh. You can talk about that now, that period. So so she'd have been teenager, 10, of course, 10, 11. So she was 10, 11, and you both went into this. Yeah. Well, we won't mention it to each other because we might upset the other person, because you probably both hurting, so let's not talk about it. But now you've talked about it as an adult to adult and realised. What do you think might have been more helpful to anyone out there who's kind of saying, oh, I've got a 10-year-old, what shall I do? Yeah. What would you advise them?
It took me time to I think it's a tough one. It really is a tough one. And I think different people take their time. We can talk about it now a lot. We have actually a safe word as well. we have a safe word where she'll say the safe word and I'll go, okay.
Great.
So that we don't keep pushing each other's buttons, or we don't, even in anything that we talk about, really, we have a safe word because we don't want to push.
So if you're talking about something sensitive, one of you says that word, then the other person knows to back off and leave the other person alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like, and it'll come out to nowhere, and the safe words will come out, it's like, okay. Just when I was having a good go there. Yeah. But, like, she might be too emotional, might be touching the buttons that she doesn't like, especially if we're talking about her dad, because that's her dad.
Yeah.
So, but she's changed our perception of the anniversaries, because I find that people can be a bit weird when you kind of acknowledge. I feel like you have to acknowledge their birthdays and their past. I think you should acknowledge those days. I find if I don't acknowledge those days, it makes me sick because I internalize. I got into my internalization of my grief made me go into early menopause.
Wow. Okay. So you're just suppressing the inner suppression, just to not pretend it's not there, but just to somehow not express it enough and push it down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you feel it led to your menopause. So it physically affected you then, pushing it down.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I know now to just let it be. Just wear my heart on my sleeve. Say what I need to say. And if people don't like it, well, I'm sorry. Not sorry. Because I want to say his name as much as I can when I want to say it and acknowledge him. I feel like people shouldn't say, like we talked about, we shouldn't say committed. It should be they either took their life or they lost their battle with mental health, because it's respectful to say it like that. So it's respectful to the person that passed, and it's respectful to the people left behind, because the people left behind have to try and work through the stigma that we are working to eradicate, because that should never be. And the more we work to eradicate this stigma, the more we talk about people passing to mental health, losing their battle with mental health, the more people that are grieving someone who lost their battle will come and ask for help or join in and know that they're safe and to be supported. And it's time to talk, to not feel uncomfortable with saying what happened, because it's frustrating.
Yeah, you're talking about 2003, 2007. So your husband also was living mental health when there was no awareness there. And then 2007, you're going through the loss. So, I mean, even now that's what we're all talking about now. That's why we're here. But even mental health awareness has improved over the last decade in terms of how he would experience that as well now with who knows. But yeah, I think it's really, when I hear that you were going through it then, my heart goes out to you, because again, the isolation that probably came from that, you probably didn't know. I mean, social media, you probably didn't even know. There probably wasn't groups of social media out there like there is now to just connect with somebody else like we have.
And social media just started then, 2007. It wasn't really a thing.
No.
I heard of Facebook. And then it was nothing really, because my daughter told me about it. And I said, what's that, Facebook? It was not big and it was not that. But even when he was not well, we kind of internalized as well, because it was embarrassing, or it was, or don't say anything. It was one of those, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop, but not, like we said, we want to kind of divide the fact that it's suicide awareness and it's people that are survivors of the people that have passed to suicide, or have taken their life, because the pain is being transferred to the people that are surviving.
It's like your husband's pain's come onto you because you're now living with them.
Yeah.
I like to think we pick up the baton almost. We pick up the baton and so it feels like it's transferred onto you to carry that mental health problems, because you're suppressing it, but crying, sure. Yeah.
And it's okay to say, it's okay to talk. It's okay you have to take it and be proud and not be in a corner and not be in that, I can't say anything about that. It's people get uncomfortable about people who go on then, off you trot. I have to live this. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, jog on.
Have you found people to do that with now?
Oh, yeah. Lots of people. I don't excuse myself. I don't, sorry, I use it as a timeline. Oh, Chris was here then. Oh, it must have been after. You use it as a timeline without even realizing you're using it as a timeline. Mm-hmm. It just is. And so it's in your life all the time, because you use it as a timeline and you don't even consciously think you're using it as a timeline. It just is.
So many unconscious things. So Chris was your husband, you're Chrissie, and your husband's Chris.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
say, oh, Chris was alive then when that happened. Yeah, you unconsciously, don't you, divide. There's like a line. And I do think that it's almost like a massive pause at that point or something. There's such a shift at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a life before and a life after, and an identity for us before and an identity for us after. Do you think it's such, like you say, it's ripped half your side off. You then piece that back together again, you know, in your own time. So everyone does it in a different time, this space, and how they do it is differently. But once you've pieced that back together again, then that leaves a different Chrissie, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Different Sue.
You'll never be the same one. You'll never be the same as when before. Why would you want to be the same? You've had this loss. Why would you go back to that? You've had this loss. This has changed you and made you the person you are today. And the grief that you suffer is only love for that person that you can't give to them. So it comes out in grief. So it's just love. Yeah. It's just love for that person. And it doesn't matter if they're not here, we can still love them.
That's why not celebrating his anniversaries or birthdays or anything for you was painful. And then when you started to do it with your daughter recently, because you sort of decided together, tell us about what you did with your daughter recently to honour.
Oh, it's fantastic. She said to me, and it was amazing, and I thought, why didn't I think of that? Not why didn't I think of that? I was just in one, and it was great to have that input. And so she said, let's do something that Dad liked. Let's go to a restaurant that he liked. Let's go and do something. Let's celebrate his birthday. As I said, we went and stayed in a hotel for the night. We got up in the morning of his birthday. We checked out and we went up the coast and we went to all the places that he loved to go, and we stopped for lunch and we walked along the beach, sung happy birthday to him, into the ocean, and really therapeutic, really good feeling. And the ocean makes you feel good anyway. You know, you kind of you're so lifted. But to be able to sing happy birthday and into the ocean, because his ashes are in the ocean as well. So we're just singing and just crying, but it was therapeutic. It wasn't sad because we laughed at each other. It was a great feeling. And so that is where we're headed now, is we're going to acknowledge him. We're not going to sit on the beach like we used to where his ashes were and just sit there and watch the sun go down and be melancholy and sad that he's not here. We know he's not here, he's not coming back, but let's make this a more positive experience. And he would love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of almost changed over time, hasn't it? It changed from not doing anything which was painful to doing things which were melancholy, sitting, to now more, can we honour it in a remembrance kind of. Yeah. I wonder if that just takes time, or the fact that you and your daughter talked about it as she got older, she could say to you, couldn't she, Mum, can we do something else?
Yeah. I think as she got older, she was able to do something else. But I also think that I hate to say time is a great healer, because that's rubbish. Grief is grief, and grief is different for everyone. And the person that they've lost, the grief is different. The grief to someone who's passed of a natural cause or a heart attack or a cancer or anything like that is different to the grief of someone who's passed to mental health, because the shock is immense. It's just too much to even comprehend.
So that time as a healer, that's just a phrase that's too easily used. I think when people are struggling, somebody says, well, you're over this yet, kind of sense, it's been a year, come on, you can do it. They're trying to help you, they're trying to support you, but that's not a helpful statement, is it? But there is something without labelling it as time as a healer, there's something about what you've done in terms of allowing your feelings to come up, allow them to be there, be present, grieve, cry after your suppression stage, which again could be another stage of grief, if you want to call it a stage of grief, but you've done it in your own way. So then you've allowed that grief to come up. Which is painful like when I do it, it's painful at the time, but then there's almost a release at the end of it. So although time is not a healer, there's something in the process of grieving and acknowledging, like you said, grief means that we just love them. Yeah. Why would we not want to grieve? Because that means that grief is a sign that we're sad about them, it's painful, and then allow it to be present in order to come to the healing. And I've certainly felt that in my journey, how by allowing it.
Allow it in, take it in, grasp it, hold on, cry, do whatever you have to do, whatever that is to you, even if you shout into a pillow, whatever you want to do to release that tension, that sadness, and then you just let it go and just be. and then you get on and move on. Not move on. No. Because I always find that the days leading up to the anniversary are always harder. Then when the anniversary comes, the anniversary or the day is quite surreal day. It's quite about being busy on that day, I found, making that day a busy day, honouring, moving forward in the day. And the next day comes and you're like, survived another day.
Yeah, survived another anniversary, survived another, a relief, yeah.
And also people beating themselves up, like I said to you the other day, people beating themselves up about, look, for me it's 14 years in July coming up. But like someone said to me a long time ago, it's only 14 days like that you've had to deal with.
So 14 days while the whole period of when? The
whole period of time, but you haven't dealt with 365 days a year of that day. Oh God, I wouldn't survive if it was 365 days. But that day is a surreal day, that day that they pass. It's not a good day. It's a weird day. I don't care what anyone says. You kind of dread the day, but then when the day comes, but I find that when the day comes, I honour him. I play his music, we'll go out, we'll go wherever and we have to do more positive things moving forward. And then the next day is like, oh my goodness, for that. You almost feel that day is like the weight is lifted, and then we move on to the next, and it goes. But it's about, I feel like if you don't honour and let all those emotions go through the grief, it just manifests inside you.
What helped you move from suppression to expression?
I just decided that I want to honour him. He was part of my life, and regardless of anything, he's still part of my life. He always will be part of my life. This till death us do part jargon is only just on paper, just so that you can move forward and meet someone else. But, it's harder to meet someone else. I feel, for me personally, I find it hard to meet someone else because of the way that he passed. If it was a natural causes thing, then I think I would be able to move, because it was out of my hands. It was inevitable. You're going to pass away because you've got cancer or just whatever. Yeah, look, I just feel still not stuck. I think if someone came into my life, maybe. But if they didn't, they don't. And I'm not looking.
It shows the responsibility, doesn't it? The responsibility to take. And I think that responsibility we take is quite unconscious sometimes. And of course, that's where the guilt comes from, that we take responsibility for what we did right or wrong or what we should have done.
Yeah.
And that responsibility is deeper than that. It's like a responsibility. And that's, I think, because our side's been ripped off and we have to piece it back together again and our identity changes. It's almost as if we take on that responsibility as part of that, which includes then for you.
Even self-esteem and all that kind of thing comes into it. And self-worth and what you've been through, and you've kind of come out of this vacuum of, what happened then? And then you're here and you're thinking, what is my purpose? You're picking up those pieces. Because not only did he pass, so did our future, our dreams, all those dreams that we were having together, that we were going to expand our business and that we were going to do X, Y, and Z. Then all of a sudden, all that's gone.
Yeah.
So now I've got to look at my life and try and think, what am I going to do with my life besides trying to get past, or not past, but deal with the death, and then try and find my life again.
Gosh, so part of you made that decision, you kind of went, okay, here we are, I've got to do something. And then is that when you started, because I know what you do, it's amazing what you do. Tell us what you do now as a business.
Firstly, we both developed the brand. The actual font, because he was in print and marketing, he pulled it apart and made the font, and I didn't want that to die. So I picked that up, and there was something he always said, it would be really good if we had our own kids brand. And, he said, because we want to keep the money in Australia, we don't want to take it offshore, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And then I just thought, what a fabulous idea. And it took me a while to come to terms and to find someone to make this product. So that now, the Mop Tops range and brand is his legacy.
And it's hair care specifically for children.
Yeah, for children, all natural, all vegan, all that kind of stuff. Really, really nice products. And then, of course, the side shoot to that is the daddy-daughter hair workshops. So to make those memories with your kids as much as possible, especially, and this is a real shoe in the door with doing your daughter's hair and getting that close to her, because you don't get that close to your daughter as a dad. and to do her hair on a daily basis in the morning before she goes to school, that she can tell her friends that my daddy did my hair and look how cool it looks and all that kind of stuff, sets her up for the day. And then she comes home and she knows that he's going to brush her hair out after dinner. She's going to have a shower or bath or whatever. Dad's going to sit on a chair and Dad's going to brush her hair and he can find out her day, what her day went like. And give her all the confidence and all, just telling her how beautiful she looks, not just outside, but inside, and how beautiful her hair looks, and giving her all those compliments. And this is what sets the bar for the type of guy that she's going to look for in her life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Girls, I've got a 19-year-old daughter, and I think they look to their dads for how they're going to be treated by men for a very long time.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
That is awesome. That's amazing to think. So you do workshops in Perth, so we can't get it anywhere else other than Perth. But if you've got a daughter in Perth and you've got a dad, so you do workshops where you teach the dad how to do plaits and
yeah, plaits, braids and partings, and how to brush the hair without giving him whiplash.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
And I just think it's about memories, because you never know when the light goes out.
And that's exactly, there's your purpose, isn't it? You're recreating Chris's legacy and your legacy, Chris's.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So there was a point where you did that, where you said, no, I'm going to, And then I guess that will just happen slowly, organically over time, where you just had the idea and then it grew, and nothing happens like a line like that, does it? Where you suddenly have the idea but looking back there in hindsight, for me, it's like, wow, you can see how that's connected. You can very much see how that's connected. Yeah. With you keeping his memory alive.
It is very connected, because I think of my daughter, like how she lost him at 10, like how these men really need to not take it for granted and build this relationship with their daughter. And also, the dads need to get in and be in their life, because they got that short window from 4 to say 10, 11. And after that, if Dad wanted to come in and brush your hair at 12, he'd be like, wait, calm down.
That's so true.
But if he's been doing it since she was little, it's going to be, Dad, I'll do my hair.
Oh, that's awesome. So even if you can't get to Perth, everybody out there, just take a note that you can do it yourself. You can learn, somewhere, somehow to do that. And mums, if we do daughters' hairs, or it's the same concept, isn't it? But I think for men, particularly dads and daughters, awesome. Love it.
The magic, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So Mop Tops is your Instagram account?
Yeah, Mop Tops _ hair care for kids.
Mop Tops, MOPTOPS.
Yeah. TOPS.
You can buy the products and ship them, can you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's his legacy. And eventually, it depends on where we go with this, but I want to be able to put some donate funds, like $1 a bottle goes to. It was going to be like Beyond Blue, but I want to support groups that I like this.
Yeah.
Whatever that may be moving forward in the future. But also I would like to do suicide prevention as well.
Yeah.
Because that's him. And then the other part would be me being. But for sure, definitely, I think that's where it needs to be. And I am looking at putting classes online on my website, because so many people from all over the place have been saying, you should do it, blah, blah, blah. So,
Yeah, awesome. So watch out on your Instagram account, because that might come in the future. Brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's such as always, a humbling experience listening to you, listening to how you've been there, but you've pieced it back together again to the only best way that you can, as your unique self with your unique story, and still now making something the best you can out of what you have, to honour Chris, honour yourself and your daughter, and again, picking up the baton for others if you can in the future. Yeah. So nice to have you here. Really, really nice. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Thanks so much for joining us here today. I hope it served you and given you something for your journey with suicide. Come back and subscribe, do whatever you need to do on your platform to help us to raise awareness of suicide, because the more we keep saying the word, the more we can gain support for us left behind, and the more we can raise awareness of the word and how society sees it, and reduce this stigma that's so attached to it. Please get in touch. You can find me on my website, suicidegriefsupport.com. I really want to hear from you. But for now, please take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And remember, we are stronger together.